Married for a decade with two smart and beautiful children, a 10-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son, we bought a house. But now, we're getting a divorce. In the first 9 years of our marriage, my wife and I trusted each other completely. However, that changed when I discovered she was lying to me, and then more lies started to come out. One day, she said she was going to her friend's house, but I later read a text message that showed she had actually gone to another man's house. I didn't confront her immediately, but I started checking her phone more closely while she was asleep. During the same week, I saw a text to another guy saying, "I want you all to myself." I asked her about these texts at 2 a.m. The next day, she called the first guy, and the following day, she told him she couldn't come over to cut his hair anymore because it was causing problems in our marriage. She made this call on speakerphone so I could hear the whole conversation, and his response was more than just about a haircut. A few months later, my wife was diagnosed with kidney stones and a kidney disease. The doctor prescribed her Vicodin for the pain. She had taken these pills in the past for menstrual cramps, and I didn't see it as a problem. One day, she called me at work and said her pill bottle had gone missing. She blamed my friend for stealing them. I searched the entire house to find the pills because it was putting our friendship at risk. I searched but found nothing until a few days later when I discovered a pill bottle with 31 Vicodin pills in her purse in her car. The bottle didn't have a label, and I was on my way to work. At that time, I didn't tell her that I found these pills, even though it was hard to miss. Later that day, she called to inform me that she had told her doctor the bottle was stolen, and he ordered her a new prescription. She said the doctor believed her and hoped to pick up the new pills from the pharmacy before it closed. However, I went and picked up the prescription after work but didn't call her back. I waited for her to come home. When she did, her first words were, "Where are my pills?" She put down her purse, and I discreetly checked if the bottle I had seen earlier was in there, but it wasn't. She wanted to order food, so I took her car to get it. While in her car, I discovered an unlabeled pill bottle in her glove compartment. I discreetly took it home with me, and after finishing my meal, placed the new prescription on the table and set the unlabeled bottle beside it. She asked, "Why did you take those pills from my car?" I responded, "Why are you driving around with my kids and an unlabeled bottle of pills?" She claimed, "My friends gave them to me." I found it hard to believe that anyone would give away that many pills for free, especially since the number of missing pills matched the ones in that bottle. This situation jeopardized a friendship. I told her I was leaving for the night and taking our son with me. She admitted, "I have a problem, I enjoy taking them." I said, "Think about it overnight, I'm leaving." However, she didn't want me to take our son. I tried to get my son ready, and she blocked us in the room. I warned her she had to move, or I would move her, which I did, though she wasn't lightweight. In the process, I accidentally bruised her arm. I left with our son for the night, making sure she couldn't leave in her car. This occurred on a Friday, and on Saturday, I discussed our options with her: divorce, separation, or working things out. If she chose to make it work, we had to attend marriage counseling, and she had to seek help for her pill problem. She agreed. We began seeing a counselor, but she quit after just 4 sessions. I continued going. A few weeks later, I found unopened contraception in my truck after she had been in it. Confusing, right? A few more weeks passed, and her friend called me to reveal that my wife had confessed to cheating on me with different guys. When I confronted my wife, she claimed I only mentioned this to make her feel better about having a termination. When I managed to access her voicemails again and heard a message asking, "Why are you spreading rumors about us seeing each other?" I'm completely heartbroken now, but I'm still trying to make our relationship work. Unfortunately, I've become like a full-time detective. On the 4th of July, I went up north for a bit, and when I came back, I saw a text that indicated she had another man at our house while I was away. The troubles just never seemed to stop. On August 28th, my dad called to tell me he had been diagnosed with cancer. Just 4 weeks later, he passed away. 5 days before he passed, I found my wife at this guy's house. I decided to take her car and drive it home to let her know I was aware of her actions. That night, things got pretty chaotic. A few weeks later, I discovered her cell phone in her car, and I had seen her enter the lock code the night before, so I unlocked it. I found a text chat between her and the guy she was with when I took her car. They were declaring their love for each other and saying they were meant to be together. They also mentioned that they hoped everything would soon blow over and they would get through it together. I took a picture of her phone with this message and showed it to her father to reveal her lies to him. He was shocked. The next day, someone cut my transmission lines. I called the police and went back into the house to ask her for her boyfriend's last name. She immediately called the police, saying I had threatened her. All I did was ask her a question. Later that afternoon, I hired a lawyer, signaling the start of the divorce proceedings, but she had already filed for divorce on a Monday. I came home for lunch, and she was passed out with our 3-year-old awake. I took her phone out of her hand and hid it. The following Tuesday, she and I exchanged texts all morning. When I came home for lunch, she wasn't there. I found her at the park with her boyfriend and my son. I pulled in and started taking pictures. I got into a small confrontation with the boyfriend. He grabbed my arm, and I confronted him, telling him I had every reason to be upset. Before I left to return to work, I tried to kiss my wife to make him jealous. I also told her I'd fight for my kids because she didn't need them. When I got back home from work, she seemed to provoke me into coming home. An hour later, the police were there arresting me on domestic issues. She had a witness who claimed I tried to harm her, slammed her against the car, and it wasn't her boyfriend. I spent 21 hours in jail for something I didn't do, and now I have to prove my innocence. I've been ordered to leave my house, and all I have are the clothes on my back. She got a restraining order against me and changed the locks, so I can't access my belongings. I'm going through an emotional roller coaster. There's no way to fix this now. I've been attending counseling since April. My divorce attorney will handle the domestic issue situation. He's prepared to question her given all the information and evidence I've provided that exposes inconsistencies in her story. It's impossible to be in two places at once. The so-called witness isn't her boyfriend, but I'm pretty sure this person has connections to her family or his circle of acquaintances. I didn't get physically aggressive at all. Yes, I was angry when her boyfriend grabbed my arm and I confronted him, warning him that I had every reason to confront him, but my son was right there. I'm fighting for my kids, and I didn't want to jeopardize that in any way. Before all of this happened, we talked about making the divorce as amicable as possible. That's not an option anymore. What she did to me was completely unjust. A few months ago, we had an hour-long conversation which I recorded. I made sure to cover every topic, from her lies to the Vicodins. Essentially, she admitted that everything I discovered she had deliberately set up to mess with my head. I still have the recording. Regarding the pictures, I have one of her texts saying she loves him and him calling her baby, and also him saying they'll get through this together. In my view, this seems like a scheme. She was just trying to get me arrested so she might have a slight chance of keeping the kids. I'm relieved to hear that the courts deal with these situations frequently. My lawyer is prepared to challenge her. I just hope I can turn things around and have her arrested for falsely filing this charge. With these recent developments, finally, I'm going to court to fight for my parenting time, and hopefully, I can also retrieve my belongings on December 16th. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that things go well, and I can spend time with my kids without needing supervision, even if it's just for an hour. I had to go through that when I was a kid, and I'd really like to have a whole weekend with them. Yesterday, I had a scheduled parent-teacher conference with my daughter's teacher. When I arrived, the first thing she said was, "Why wasn't your daughter in school today?" I was taken aback and replied, "I don't know. I haven't talked to or seen her since October." Her report card had the lowest grades I've ever seen for her, and it wasn't the usual report card she brings home. Plus, she's already had a combination of 11 absences and tardies this year, not including yesterday, making it 12. I brought my mom along in case my ex-wife showed up because I had scheduled this meeting for myself, not for her. The teacher mentioned that my daughter is doing okay, but her grades don't match her usual performance. The teacher also said that my ex-wife had a conference scheduled for this week but didn't attend, which is typical. Next week, I'm hoping for a smooth experience. I have 2 court dates, one for the domestic issue final pretrial and one with family court for parenting. Time and to retrieve my belongings. I also have to attend a class for parents going through a divorce called the SMILE program. It's mandatory, so I must complete it. I've had 2 job interviews in the last 2 weeks, and the one I had scheduled for this week seemed like a perfect fit. However, I received a call today saying, "You're overqualified, and you'd be bored in the position," so I didn't get the job. But it seems like my resume is getting noticed, so I'm not giving up hope. My financial situation is deteriorating rapidly, and I'm almost broke. I need a job ASAP, and I'm willing to do anything. I'm just hoping that all these court dates won't interfere with my job search. Well, the final pretrial for the domestic issue took place yesterday. They offered me a no-contest plea, which means I would plead guilty and be put on probation for a year. If I stayed out of trouble, it would be removed from my record. It was tempting because going to a jury trial could result in a conviction on my record for life, but I refused. I didn't do it, so I'm not pleading guilty to something I didn't do. It's a risk I have to take. I want to make a statement. It's been almost 2 months since the domestic issue charges were filed, and I still haven't been able to retrieve my belongings. It's freezing cold outside, and I went to court without a coat. When my lawyer arrived, the first thing he asked was, "Where's your coat?" I replied, "It's at home with my boots and all my other belongings that I haven't been able to get." He was quite upset about it and said he would bring it up in court. My ex-wife went to the prosecutor and began making false accusations about me driving by the house, which would violate my bond. This isn't the first time she's made up stories. During the hearings I've attended, everything she says never happened. I stood in front of the judge with my lawyer, and the prosecuting attorney informed the judge that a plea had been offered and that I refused. A jury trial is now scheduled for January 13th. The prosecuting attorney told the judge that I am in contempt of court because my ex-wife is claiming I've been driving by. She even mentioned that the neighbors have seen me driving by. I remain calm because I know I have a tough battle ahead. The judge told my lawyer that he needs to have a serious talk with me because these accusations could get me into more trouble. At the end of the hearing, my lawyer said, "Your Honor, there is one more thing I need to bring to your attention. Since the last pretrial on November 1st, we have been trying to arrange with my client's wife's counsel to retrieve his belongings many times and all documented. We've been getting the runaround, and my client still hasn't been able to get his things. What my client is wearing today in front of you is all he has. He has no coat, no boots, and it's sub-zero outside." The prosecuting attorney responded, "This is the first I've heard about this." My lawyer then requested, "I'm asking you to put something in place so my client can retrieve his belongings. The judge has instructed us to go to the police station and arrange for a civil standby, and tomorrow I'll finally be able to retrieve my belongings." I've also taken steps that may raise concerns for the prosecuting attorney, which doesn't reflect well on my vindictive wife. From now on, I plan to maintain a diary, recording every detail of my daily activities, such as where I go, whom I visit, departure and arrival times, meals, and sleep. I want to avoid being wrongly convicted of things I didn't do. When I go to collect my belongings, I'll have a few friends with me for assistance as witnesses and for moral support. The police have informed me that I'll have around 15 minutes to retrieve my things, but I have different plans. I need all my belongings, not just a single coat. I'm tired of going through hoops and spending money on legal counsel to make contact for retrieving my belongings, something that only becomes complicated because she wants to be vindictive. Here's the latest. Well, I managed to retrieve my belongings with a police escort, but she wouldn't allow me inside my home. She put all my things in bags and tossed them onto the porch for me to collect. Finally, yesterday we had a court hearing for parenting time. We argued back and forth about the times and dates I'm allowed to see my kids. We eventually reached a fairly good agreement, but I was insistent on seeing my kids this weekend. She was not willing to budge. My lawyer kept emphasizing that we should stick to the agreement or we could risk losing it all. I said no, it's been 2 months and I deserve to see my kids this weekend. So it ended up in front of the judge. After my lawyer informed the judge that there were 3 documented letters requesting me to see the kids, none of which had been responded to, the judge ruled in my favor, granting me the opportunity to see my kids. I left with tears of joy. Regarding employment, I had an interview yesterday. I don't want to celebrate too early, but I believe it went well. My ex-wife's lawyer questioned the abruptness of my unemployment as I had been with the company for a long time. They accused me of trying to avoid paying support and depleting my 401k, so until I hear back from the job, and it's worth noting that 2 out of the 3 people I listed as references have been contacted about me as I'm typing this. This is the extent of my report. Good things are on the horizon. My spirits are high right now. I finally had the chance to spend some time with my kids. When I arrived, Grandma pretty much pushed them out the door and then quickly shut it behind them. My ex-wife was waiting down the street, just watching. As soon as my daughter saw me, she was all over me. She was so thrilled to see me and wouldn't leave my side. We went to IHOP for breakfast, and my daughter told me, "Dad, I don't want to go home. I want to spend the whole day with you." I asked her about her school attendance, and it turns out she's had 15 absences and tardies this year. I asked if it was because she wasn't waking up for school or if her mom wasn't helping her get there. Either way, it pointed back to her mom. My daughter admitted that sometimes she woke up and then went back to sleep, but her mom should be making sure she gets to school, not just sleeping. After IHOP, we went skating, which was a lot of fun. My daughter also asked why I wasn't at home anymore. She said my ex-wife told her that I left, wasn't coming back, and even sent a letter saying I wouldn't return. I told her that it wasn't true and that one day she'd find out what really happened. But not right now. She also asked if Santa would visit my place, as her mom said Santa would leave half her presents at home and the other half with me. It's challenging because I'm low on money, and it needs to cover my expenses. After dropping them off, I had a very emotional ride back home. I wondered how Santa would make it to where I'm staying. It will still be weeks before I start earning again. I shared this with a couple of my true friends, and they reassured me that Santa would come. One friend plans to take me shopping tomorrow for a few things for the kids, and the other has a surprise up his sleeve and won't reveal it, but he's sure Santa will be there. Their support brought tears to my eyes. It took 2 months, but now I feel much better knowing that she can't keep the kids away from me anymore. I do wish I could communicate with my daughter, but she says her mom took her Facebook away. There's no way to call her or email her, but my daughter suggested writing a letter and mailing it. I worry that her mom will intercept the letters, read them, and tear them up. Well, I went to the pediatrician's office to request my kids' medical records from the last 2 months. Initially, they were reluctant, thinking my ex-wife had full custody. However, we shared joint legal custody, and I provided the necessary documents to prove it. My ex-wife did take my daughter to the pediatrician for an intimate offense evaluation. The records state Mom brought her to the office because her daughter reported wetting the bed at her father's place, but not at her mother's. They discussed the issue and referred her to the ER. I plan to visit the hospital to verify whether she followed their advice and to obtain the medical records. Today, the domestic issue case is now closed. During her testimony, both my ex-wife and her boyfriend admitted they are now in a romantic relationship. I hope this fact will work in my favor in my divorce case. It seems she couldn't even wait for the ink to dry on our separation. It was evident right away that the jury wasn't convinced by her story. My documentation supported my account and discredited hers. The police officer who took her report also provided testimony that contradicted her version of her condition when she arrived at the police department. The report showed no physical marks on her, despite her describing a violent encounter that should have resulted in noticeable bruises. The jury reached a not guilty verdict in just 30 minutes. Now I'll attempt to have her removed from my house, get the personal protection order lifted, and explore pursuing charges related to parental alienation. I believe things are currently in my favor. I have a court hearing on Monday in front of the judge handling my divorce and the PO case. We'll see how it unfolds. In my previous post, I mentioned that I had a redacted version of the police report. Many parts of the report were blacked out because I was afraid of getting arrested if I had tried to obtain it. However, after I saw a case closed on the report, I decided to acquire an uncensored version of it. The version I obtained was largely uncensored. Within the report, my ex-spouse informed the police that I was offended by my father in an intimate way, if you know what I mean. It's true that I was subjected to child offense, but it was solely physical, not of an intimate nature. Therefore, her claim is inaccurate. In the report, the Child Protective Services caseworker and the police conducted interviews with my children. During these interviews, my daughter explained that she wears regular clothes, not pajamas, when she stays with me, and any dampness waking up wet was due to sweating. She mentioned that she told her, "My mom and I were talking about this, and that's when my soon-to-be ex-wife, STBXW, suggested the possibility of offense." Importantly, the report states that no physical evaluation took place, which is a relief. Now I understand why my daughter sometimes expresses fear of me. It turns out she's been exposed to a lot of false information. I've been aware of this for some time, but I didn't have much concrete proof. Nonetheless, my daughter doesn't exhibit genuine fear of me. In fact, she often clings to me when we go out with the kids. I'm genuinely proud of her for being truthful, and I've made sure she knows that. I spent 5 hours in court. My attorney was called back into the chambers 4 different times, and then the judge decided to schedule a trial hearing on the matter for a month and a half later. I had to pay $1,000 for a day with no results. It seemed like the judge thought, well, she's got nowhere to go, as if I had a place to go after being thrown into jail and ordered out of my home. What's going on? I'm really angry. The safety of my children is at risk, and this was an urgent matter. I'm still uncertain about everything in my life. I spoke with my attorney yesterday and asked if there was a way to move this forward. He suggested we could try to put it in front of an arbitrator. I hope I spelled that right. I agreed to do so if possible. I'm fed up with this entire mess, and I'm almost ready to give up. But I know that if I do, my kids will still be in danger. A good friend of mine is willing to find me another attorney because he believes that mine may not be handling the situation well at all. He's even willing to pay the retainer. However, I feel stuck, lost, confused, emotional, stressed, and I'm dealing with all the other feelings any person would have in my situation. I went to court the other day and was found in contempt of court. It was due to the fact that my lawyer didn't show me a court order for me to turn over the rest of my 401k money until 5 weeks after the court order was issued. He kept telling me to turn the money over, but he never mentioned that there was a court order. Now I have to pay her lawyer $750 in 7 days, which I don't have, and I have to replace all the money spent on marital assets after the order date. The judge asked me why I didn't hand over the money right away. I told him the truth under oath, which was that my lawyer didn't show me an order until 5 weeks after the order was written. The judge then asked if I was in his courtroom on the day it was written, and I said yes. He then said, "You didn't hear us talking about it?" I replied, "No, because you took counsel back into your chambers and discussed this behind closed doors." My lawyer is angry at me for making him look like a fool, but oh well. I'm extremely fed up with this situation. I will request my attorney to draft a settlement agreement. She can have everything. All I desire are the shoes I'm wearing and my peace of mind. Life continues. It's all just material possessions, and they can be replaced. She has turned my daughter against me, and every time I pick her up, she shows no affection. I can't take any more of this. I understand the importance of having my kids in my life, and they need me too, but I simply can't tolerate this any longer. Raising the white flag. I had a hearing for my home and custody. The judge didn't want to remove her and give me custody because the family report was due in 2 weeks. I had to give up my house and was ordered to pay $1,640 a month in child support. I stopped paying my mortgage because there's no hope for me to get it back. Also, the personal protection order was reduced to a civil protection order, allowing me to contact her through text. Today, another court appearance. I feel like I'm being treated unfairly at every turn. My lawyer isn't helping. I'm broke, homeless, and just got ordered to pay $4,800 in lawyer fees to her lawyer or I go to jail. They're even going after my only hope in life, my dad's estate, for $22,000. I can't seem to catch a break, and I'm losing faith and hope. Life will never be the same. I'm now $180,000 in debt, feeling lost, and on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I want to express my gratitude to everyone here for their support, advice, friendship, and encouragement. I've given this everything I had. I'm broke, can't afford a new lawyer, don't have any money left, and all this stress is really taking a toll on me. I went to the doctor for a checkup due to the stress. My blood pressure was high at 151 out of 100, and I was put on medication. After returning, I found out everything is fine, but I mentioned experiencing chest pains earlier in the week. They ran an EKG on me and immediately scheduled an appointment with a cardiologist. I'm scared, tired, broke, homeless, and feeling completely mistreated. I didn't do anything to deserve any of this. My advice to the world: never get married. Last Friday, I went to court to hear the custody report recommendation. In the report, my ex-wife lied extensively. She claimed I went to bars every night and came home drunk, even though I had been to a bar only 3 times during our marriage. She also said she never did drugs, and her hospitalization for a suicide attempt was due to her grabbing a knife to slash my tires. The court sided with her and awarded her physical custody. I looked at my attorney with tears in my eyes and said, I want this over with. There's no way I'm going to win a thing. He responded, you want this over? We can do this today. I said, do it. I had to give up my house, all my 401k money, $1,300, and pay her $3,200 in back child support in small increments. It's over, and my life isn't in limbo anymore. Now I can move on. I must focus on myself. Now I'm broke with $6,000 in lawyer fees. She won all my hard work of working 60 to 72 hours a week, saving money for retirement, the beautiful house, my kids. It all feels like it's gone to waste. Thanks to everyone here who has posted and supported me. I may not know you in person, but I feel a connection with all of you. I couldn't take it anymore, the time off work, my life in limbo, not getting any rulings in my favor except winning the domestic issue trial. I'd had enough. I ended up with joint custody and get to see my kids weekly. One day they'll understand what Mom did to our family. Life is wonderful. I left that cheating woman and found a genuine woman who treats me with respect. Things have settled down, and it's been a long journey. I've faced significant challenges, but now my girlfriend and I have been living together for about a year. She's everything a man could wish for in a woman. I wish I had met her many years ago. She has 1 daughter, and with my 2, they get along wonderfully. My girlfriend makes me incredibly happy. She treats me the way I deserve, prepares my lunch daily, and even gives me a morning kiss before I head to work. I never experienced that in my previous marriage. I swore I'd never get married again, but this woman might change my mind. I met her on Match.com, and on our first date, we discovered that we went to school together. We also found out we have so much in common, it's astonishing. I cherish every moment with her. To those reading this story, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Just be patient and keep your spirits high. Story 2. I don't know how to cope with this. It happened almost 5 months ago, but it still feels like I was deeply hurt just moments ago. I work as a FedEx delivery driver, so I'm rarely away from home. So why does my wife keep complaining that I'm gone for too long? One day, my brother tells me he wants to go on vacation for snowboarding. I ask him where, and he says he's going on a snowboarding trip. That same day, my wife informs me that she's going on vacation with her friends. Naturally, I believed her. She left a day before my brother did, so I didn't think I had anything to worry about. We don't have any children together yet. About 2 weeks later, my neighbor tells me that my brother was holding hands with my wife. My brother is already married, and oddly, his wife bears a resemblance to my wife. I always found that peculiar. I figured he might have mistakenly confused her with my sister-in-law due to his age. One day, I return home from work, and all I can think of is taking a shower. I go into my room, and I see my wife shirtless and asleep next to my naked brother. I'm not one to get into fights. I've never been in one before. But I grabbed his foot and pulled him off my bed, yelling at him. She wakes up and starts with the typical female excuse, saying it's not what it looks like. I later found out they had been having an affair for 2 years. Following that incident, I told his wife this wasn't the first person he had cheated on her with, so she had had enough and began divorce proceedings. I did the same. My wife begged me to forgive her. I know why she wants a second chance, otherwise, she'll be homeless, as will my ex-brother. I had been with my wife for 4 years, but I've lost faith in family. My brother was the last relative I counted on, and now he means nothing to me. I had been warned not to marry American women, but I'm American myself. However, I now believe that American women can be some of the most unfaithful people in the world. My ex-brother contracted coronavirus. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. I found out this morning, and he has had it for a little while. Our sister FaceTimed me, showing me his condition, which didn't look good. She suggested we talk to each other to find some closure, but I declined. He can deal with his problems on his own. He is no longer my brother. As for my wife, she continues to beg me to take her back, even getting on her knees. I'm sorry, but the answer is still no. Regarding my ex-brother, I do wish him luck, but he spent his life smoking and drinking. My brother is passing from this virus, and I don't feel anything about it. There's nothing I can do, so I'm indifferent. My wife is on the verge of being homeless, but she's too embarrassed to ask for help from others. I understand that there are many women who wouldn't cheat. In my eyes, it's challenging to trust even family. So again, I apologize. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. It just came out wrong. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I'm in the middle of 5 kids. I've never been a parent, so I don't know the love of having children. However, witnessing the pain my parents are going through depresses me. I shouldn't wish harm on anyone, especially family. My mother told me that if I refuse to speak to my brother because of the woman I married, I'll regret it. I can't force myself, but it's a shame how even family can harbor so much hatred toward one another. I told her I can't bring myself to speak to someone like him and walked away shedding tears. My ex-brother is on his deathbed, and everyone assumes he won't make it. I wish him luck, but do I think he got what he deserved? Perhaps. Who am I to judge? Do I feel remorse or will I miss him? No. Jealousy and hatred are powerful emotions. To be honest, if I do decide to talk to him while taking precautions, it won't end well, knowing how much I resent him. I'd probably tell him he got what he deserved, maybe something like, have fun burning in hell. I have nothing positive to say, so it's better not to say anything at all, and forgiveness is out of the question. I asked my wife why she cheated, and she said that every woman cheats when they don't get what they want. I asked her what she wanted, and she said a better life. She tried to apologize for hurting me, acknowledging that I loved her, loved, past tense. She also suggested that I could find someone better than her, but honestly, everyone seems the same to me now. To the trolls who might criticize me for this, please read slowly and understand that I don't care. She said it, not me. I get it now. I've been cheated on so many times because they wanted something better. I suppose it's sad. It seems that in the past, people had more self-respect. I wonder what has changed. I wanted to provide another update. My brother passed away a couple of days ago. I've been trying to process everything. We made peace in our own way, and here's a paraphrased version of what he said. You can't trust anyone, not just women, but no one. Women may be cruel and evil sometimes, but so can everyone else. No one is perfect. Look at Mom. She slept with a man Dad despised and got pregnant with me, yet she had the audacity to call Ashley a derogatory term, right? Do you think Dad doesn't regret staying with her or raising me, all because of a stupid fight? When Mom got sick, Dad told her to get the man who fed me to help her. This is how human beings are. You're not perfect either, no matter how hard you try. Let me tell you this, life will throw much harder punches at you. And Ashley, you're only 28. You'll finish this semester and graduate with an engineering degree, and you'll join the military to become an engineer. I'm proud of you, but please promise me this, don't get married to any woman while you're in the military. Women may approach you for their military wife benefits and may cheat or betray you while you're away for months or even longer. If you stay with Ashley, I promise the same thing will happen. He said, women are only for pleasure and control. I disagree with that completely. Nobody is anyone's slave. But I agree that getting married while in the military is a recipe for betrayal. If my opinion triggers anyone, they can deal with it. I found my soon-to-be ex-wife. She's currently living in her car. LOL. I told her about my brother, and she started crying. Given her circumstances, she's doing well. I considered letting her stay in the house to keep her safe, but it seems she can handle herself. That's good. When she confessed everything to me that day, she told me she had fallen in love with him a long time ago. I told her that if she gets sick and ends up like him, she might be able to see him again and be happy. I know I might seem heartless right now. I've pushed my emotions aside, and I feel numb to everything that has happened. I refuse to get emotional about things that can't be changed. It's just as my ex-brother said, no one is perfect. However, that doesn't mean I'm going to mess up my life, end up in jail, and ruin my future career for two disgusting individuals. She's not my problem anymore, and neither is he.